I'm doing my presentation on Hamilton and the shaping of America. I chose this because I know it's going to lead to something that I find really interesting, which is the Barbary War. And that was one of his initial conflicts with Jefferson, and was probably one of the few times you can say that anyone was definitively proven right from the founding fathers. But first, start off with his affiliation. He was a Federalist, and they believed in forming a stronger central government which would kind of lead the states in how they're going to operate. And he also believed in forming strong economic ties with Britain. And this was to promote their manufacturing base, because this is kind of what the colonies' economy relied on earlier. They would make things, they'd sell them to Britain, and that's how they would develop and produce capital. He had a somewhat loose interpretation of the Constitution, like, because this was once again a compromise in the beginning between the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. So, as a Federalist who wanted that stronger central government, of course he was going to try to expand what he can do under the Constitution. So he also was a bit, well, not also, but the main way he did this was during his time as the treasurer, a state treasurer, in which his most famous stretching of the Constitution and whatever's deemed necessary, provisions deemed necessary, he decided to try to attempt to create the national bank, which I believe was eliminated at some point. I think he managed to create it, but I think we haven't covered it yet. But if I remember correctly, Andrew Jackson got rid of it. But he also created a plan to deal with the federal debt that we had. The federal debt would also absorb the state debt, because this was kind of the beginning after the Articles of Confederation, and they still had all that chaos going on. So they were trying to really organize the monetary system, and he created the tax system, which helped in his plan to eliminate the public debt. And he also did what he could to boost domestic manufacturing while he was in this role. And once again, going back, we had mainly an export economy where we would export goods, raw materials to Britain. And that's how, like most of the colonies did. And then he had this is a topic I was very passionate about, which is why I picked this. So I don't have much details here on this side, but he believed, and a lot of other Federalists believe, in the formation of a standing army. And the Democrat Republicans like Jefferson did oppose this. And it's funny because after the Federalists kind of lost political clout and the Democrat Republicans took over, this standing army, which at the time they did manage to pass in the formation of various lighter ships, actually went to war under Jefferson, who fought tooth and nail to prevent the building of these ships in the Barbary pirates. Because he just figured you just pay the pirates and they'll go away. And this was the plan: just pay them, pay them, pay them. But they never listened, because it was a system they established with the European powers. And when the European power pays you, and you can't attack their ships, because if you do, they're gonna actually fight back. But since we were still a fledgling nation, we hadn't really invested in the Navy yet. We were kind of easy pickings. And this was at the same time as the French Revolution and then the Napoleonic Wars. So the European navies were focused elsewhere. And really, not directly related, but Admiral Nelson's actions in the Mediterranean and then kind of establishing British naval dominance led to less of a need for this. But at the time, it did prove how necessary it was in order to protect our global interest. Also, furthermore, to add to the point of him being retroactively justified in this forming of the national army, the British and the French would attack our ships because we were selling goods to both sides, which further goes back to his manufacturing boost, which would come into play during the Napoleonic Wars. We were exporting to both sides. Now, Hamilton was a man who highly valued his honor. It directly led to his death when he dueled with Burr. And it led to the really collapse of the Federalist Party when he opposed Burr in running. And it's a man who had so many ideas, which nowadays we look at them and it's like, oh yeah, this is kind of what we think. But because of his, almost to the point where it was pride, it caused him to collapse his entire party from the inside by splitting it when Burr went against Jefferson. And so it was very fascinating. And I did not mention, but the previous photo is the bombardment of Tripoli, which was really when we won the Barbary War. And that is my presentation. Thank you for listening.